Welcome to the Yankee Cowboy Podcast, coming to you from Dallas, Texas. Here's your host, Tim Wilkins.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Yankee Cowboy Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Wilkins, joined by the host, the co-host of co-host, Chris, joining me once again. And today's topic, we're gonna do today's edition of the Championship 4 weekend. It is the NASCAR Championship 4 weekend at Phoenix. I don't even know what they call it anymore, if it's International Raceway, something or whatever. It's now known as Phoenix International Speedway. But Chris, thank you for joining me today, man. We're going to have a good time, man. We got a lot of good storylines to talk about. We got it all squared away here. We're going to make our picks, by the way, for who the championships are. I think, Chris, we had some fun watching that Martinsville race, I think, this past weekend. A lot of fun. The Xfinity level had some drama. I think whoever owns stock in Speedy Dry should probably invest some more, because there's probably about a couple truckloads, of Speedy Dry dropped down during the Xfinity race. But good weekend of racing at a good short track that has a lot of history. And we're going to go into Phoenix, which arguably is what many purists would say should not be the last race of the season, should be Homestead. But I'm just going to say it's an exciting racetrack. You know, there's nothing, you don't want anything else. You wanted some excitement. So let's hope you had a good weekend, Chris. Your thoughts going into this Championship 4. I'll let you, I'm going to pull up here the truck series here, so we go through the 4 drivers here. Yeah, no,
it's, again, ready to crown 3 more champions this weekend. This will be I believe the 4th year that the Cup Series finishes the season in Phoenix. So certainly, the racing here it's especially on the Cup side, has had its struggles. But again, obviously compelling situation there. But yeah, we're going to hit on all 3 national touring series as they crown their champions and make our picks of who we think will win, who will hoist each of the 3 trophies here this coming weekend out in Arizona.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a lot of takeaways from the season. I think before we go into the Cup Series, we'll do that later. I think as a fan that there still needs to be some improvement to the packages of the Cup Series, especially on the short track. I had friends that were at the race in Martinsville. They definitely were not crazy fans of the amount of level of racing or the quality of racing that was going on. It seemed kind of boring at times, which compared to the Xfinity level, obviously you have half the level of laps, but there was a lot of, I would say, racing going on. There's definitely some room for improvement on the package for the Cup level. I think they'll work through those, but Martinsville is always an exciting track, Chris. I think we can all say that as a fan, the short tracks always leave a lot of excitement. They're the same level of what can happen as a restrictor plate race. So it's anything can happen. That's why it's on the schedule where it's on the schedule. So we're going to kick it off into the late hour of Halloween here, and kind of decide who we're going to pick here for the Craftsman Truck Series champion. Obviously, the 4 contestants on this awesome windmill of greatness here is Corey Heim, Carson Hocevar, Ben Rhodes, who's a former champion, and Grant Enfinger. So this kind of gave you a broad synopsis here, a little bit here of the stats going on to this. Corey Heim has, out of the 21 races, 3 wins, 12 top 5s, 19 top 10s. Average finish for Mr. Corey Heim is 6th. So that's his stat line. Grant Enfinger, 3 wins, 9 top fives, 12 top tens. Average finish is 9th. Okay, so historically, and you have Mr. Carson Hocevar, which he's he's the favorite for sure for a lot of reasons. He's getting an opportunity to race in the Spire Motorsports 77 car next year. We got 4 wins, 11 top fives, 13 top tens. And last but not least, Mr. Ben Rhodes, the returning champion, I believe. Is he the defending champion, Chris? I think he is, right?
Or I believe he's a 2021 champion.
Yeah, okay. So I'm a mistake there. He is a former champion. He is 1 win this season, 6 top fives, 13 top tens, and his average finish is a grand total of 11. So he's ran mid-pack for most of the year. He obviously has won. But so those are the 4 guys running this year. And I think, Chris, I've not watched a ton of Truck Series races. I have watched obviously some of the big ones. But
yeah.
I think the odds-on favorite here says Corey Heim, based on the amount of just where his average finishes and the consistency factor. But it's not always about that. It's whoever finishes the best here. So it's not about what you've done in the season. It's what you do now, as they say. But realistically, when you look at the 4 teams, would you? Before I make my decision, who do you think?
Yeah,
you might have a better opportunity here.
So, quick synopsis for each of the 4 drivers. So, Corey Heim, obviously, this is his second full-time season in the Truck Series. He moved over from Kyle Busch Motorsports after they switched to Chevrolet, and he went to the formerly known, now known as Tricon Garage, which became kind of the figurehead Toyota truck team this year. Joining him was Scott Zipadelli, who was former Truck Series Championship crew chief back several years ago with Brett Moffitt. The Carson Hocevar, obviously breakout season for him with 4 wins. Picked up his first win back at Texas in the spring. Really had a great season, and as you mentioned, obviously made numerous Cup starts between in the Spire car first, and then driving the 42 Legacy Motor Club car the back half of the year as well, and then obviously announced that he'll drive for Spire full time in 2024. Grant Enfinger, veteran driver of the Truck Series. Team GMS Racing will be shutting down at the end of the year as they kind of consolidate down with moving over to Toyota with the Legacy Motor Club deal. And then Ben Rhodes, who really, think about it, and Tim, you mentioned, obviously, kind of a feast or famine season for him. He got his crew chief that he won the championship with in 2021 back after they made a team swap with he and Haley Deegan about a month ago before the playoffs started. So they, through a little bit of strategy at Homestead, were able to get enough points to make it into the championship 4. Just looking at it on paper and just based off speed, it's hard to pick against Carson Hocevar. I got to say he has matured well beyond maybe what people thought he was the last few years. The speed was there, but was the maturity there? And he finally has found a way to bring speed to the racetrack and bring consistency. And so my pick is going to be Carson Hocevar.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm remiss there, but I missed out on the GMS shutdown there. I knew the announcement they were consolidating operations, but I didn't know there was going to be a full shutdown there. So that's good news to know. Obviously, with Grant Enfinger, so obviously he's running pretty good for some team that's probably selling off all their assets while this deal is being done. I have to say I'm going to go with stats here. I'm going to go with Ben Rhodes here. And I'm going to go with consistency in past champions here. Not saying anything against Scott Zipadelli. I like Scott a lot. Scotty, is obviously the brother of Greg Zipadelli. He used to be the great crew chief for the 20 car when Tony Stewart ran it, as well as he's also the head of competition there, I think, at SHR, right? He's a
Connecticut guy.
He's a Connecticut guy. You always love your Connecticut guys when you can. But Ben Rhodes, in my view, I think the championship experience will definitely come to play. and come to the forefront. Corey Heim statistically should be up there, up to the front. It'd be, if I'm wrong, I mean, I'm going to pick Ben Rhodes. I'm going to pick a past champion here. I don't want the moment to be too big for Carson, but I think Carson's already made his decision, for future's sake, to go into the Cup Series level and make. I'm not sure, Chris. I think, is that a great move to make as a young driver to run with a team that potentially could be not say the bottom of the barrel in a sense, because it won't be, because of the way they're going to work that deal out in I would say the funding of the team and the resources. I don't think it's going to be a bottom feeder team. I think it's going to run a potentially top 15 every week. So
yeah, I mean, if you look at what Corey LaJoie's done this year, I mean, his average finish is about 6 to 7 places higher than it's been over the last couple of years. Do I think they're going to be a race winning team on a consistent basis? No, but I think they could get to a point where they could become a top 15 team. And when Hocevar has been, I think in adequate equipment to what he's going to drive next year with the Legacy Motor Club. I mean, he's run inside the top 10 several times. So there's definitely, there's definitely some pace there. And so I think, it on paper, it looks like a lateral move, but, an opportunity for him to get in the Cup Series. There's been several guys who have said, and we'll obviously touch a little bit on when we talk about the Xfinity Series, but the difference that some guys are saying that going from truck to Xfinity is actually a little bit of a, can sometimes hurt a driver because there's more similarities between the truck and the current next gen Cup car.
Yeah, I was going to say that's where I was really going with is the Carson kind of jumping over the Xfinity level. Kind of, it's going to deter him, or maybe kind of cause some negative consequences there in the driving level, the skill level set. But I don't, after watching him drive, for Legacy, having his opportunities there, he did a pretty good job with the equipment that he had and everything that was going on there. So it'd be interesting to see. I know you're picking that, you're picking that young man. I'm going to pick Ben Rhodes. Now watch, we're going to both pick those two guys, and watch Corey Heim's going to come up and just win.
Oh yeah. No, exactly.
That's how it's the optics of opposites here. But going into the Xfinity, and not to take away anything for the truck drivers, I think every single one of us who's ever been a race car, a racing fan, understands that each individual car has its challenges, and the Truck Series has its challenges as an aero situation and not so much strategy. So it's unique, right? The Xfinity level, compared to the difference between the Cup Series car at Phoenix, is a complete night and day. It is a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde effect. So we're going to go into the Xfinity car, which after Martinsville, which I'll touch briefly on, it's Sam Mayer, Justin Allgaier, John Hunter Nemechek, and Cole Custer. I'm going to just be remiss here and say that I heard on the radio, listening to the Martinsville race, while they're under red flag conditions, that Sheldon Creed was literally talking to his crew, saying, does Austin Hill know that if I win, that we're both into this race? Literally asking the crew, does Austin Hill know this information? And they couldn't tell us. They couldn't tell him. So do I blame Austin Creed for racing the way he did? Absolutely not. Do I think that Austin Creed's a pretty clean race car driver when it comes to racing and racecraft? It could have been a hell of a lot worse. Okay. We've seen some serious Bush League stuff before, no pun intended. We've seen it before. I think, Chris, you can probably laugh at me about the amount of the stupidity we've seen at the Xfinity level, where guys are just dumping people for the sake of dumping people. But Austin Creed gave him a chance to race. So Andy Petrie, as much as I watch that video as well, I say, if shoe was on the other foot, you wouldn't be coming to talk to him either. So not to say this anything. Austin Hill also outed Austin Creed's potential next year future plans, which I believe is Bush League also. But at the same time, do I blame, if that is indeed true, do I blame Austin Creed for leaving? Absolutely not then, because you can't get respect. There's no team atmosphere at the Xfinity level. Like I'll say that they're racing for their next opportunity at the cup level. So there's no like, how do I put it, Chris? Like there's no like, hey, I'm going to do you the right way so you can do me the right way later. These guys are racing for their futures. So it's kind of the set standard. But going into these 4 drivers, one thing that's really sticks out here, I think, Chris, you can agree with me on this, is 2 cars from JR. Good old Junior Motorsports. Good old Junior himself, which, by the way, the old meets the new. Okay. You have Justin Allgaier, who, I mean, regardless of what people think about Justin Allgaier, personally, professionally, he's been around loyal to Junior Motorsports for quite a long time. And then you have Sam Mayer, who's relatively come onto the scene in short time here and has made a name for himself here, driving under some really good equipment. And he's earned his right to be here. John Hunter Nemechek, legacy holds no. Chris, I think we can say that he has a Nemechek last name. So if anyone knows his old man, knows he inherited some of his father's genes for sure when it comes to racing. So there's definitely that. And then you have Cole Custer, who, if I remember correctly, Chris, he took a step down to come to the series at Stewart Haas when they're doing some off-season stuff, right? Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep. Him and Ryan Preece obviously taking over the 41 car, and then Custer being moved back down into the Xfinity series this year.
I don't want to kind of cause any stir up anything here, but was there anything written about why that was? Was it a funding issue? Was it any of that kind of what was the main cause for that situation? Was this
from all I've read and interpreting, my guess is it seems like it was a move that Tony Stewart wanted to make. I think Tony, obviously Tony involved in Stewart Haas Racing, and with Gene Haas, that 41 car has always been kind of looked at as being Gene's car. I mean, it's always had Haas slapped on it. It doesn't really had a lot of corporate sponsorship. So, it's looked at as, hey, Gene puts who wants in the car. So obviously for several years, Cole Custer was the driver of that car for 3 seasons, 20, 21, and 22. Cole's obviously father being one of the vice presidents there at Stewart Haas Racing and having a long relationship with Gene, I think was definitely part of why he did get to that level. Not saying he obviously had the ability to drive, but yeah, I think that the decision was kind of made that Tony trying to keep Tony engaged in the owner, in the team, was to make the move to put Ryan Preece in that car this year.
Yeah, and I mean it does it bother anyone that situation came about the way it did? Probably, but at the same time, he's obviously worked his way to get to this opportunity. So I mean, I can't. I mean, I can comprehend why they made that change if they weren't getting the results that they wanted, right? So potentially, we're not getting the results they wanted with him in the 41 car. The one thing I think we can both kind of attest to here is Junior Motorsports has been a very, very. They're always been at the forefront of like finding and recruiting drivers at the levels of which they want these guys to compete in. And Sam Mayer, I think this year, I don't think it surprises many of us that he's there, but who he's driving for kind of surprised some people.
Yeah, I mean, he's Sam Mayer's in the kind of been in the Chevrolet development program the last few years, and Chevy's put stock in him. So that program there has really kind of been a place to get him, the ability to get up through the Chevy ranks. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why he's ended up at Junior Motorsports. Former ARCA Menards champion. So yeah, no doubt about it.
That's where I think so. Out of the 3 drivers here, obviously everyone knows who John Hunter. Okay, not everyone might not know who John Hunter Nemechek is. He is, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but I believe he is the son. Is he the youngest son of Joe Nemechek?
I believe the only son of Joe Nemechek.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is the only son.
Yeah.
So, and he has a pedigree, which anyone who does not remember who Mr. Joe Nemechek is, he is a long legacy in the truck series. Long legacy in the truck series, and is also at all three levels of the sport.
Yep. He
So
was
this man is. Go ahead.
He won the 1992 Busch Series champion, or then the Xfinity Series, then the Busch Series championship in 1992. And I'd have to look to see if John Hunter does win the championship, how many father sons have won championships at the Xfinity Series level.
I think he might be the. I mean, I could be remiss there, but I think he might be the first in a very long while. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say my pick, and then we'll go into picks here. I could go into statistics on it, but really, to be fair to all the four drivers here, they've had a great, incredible season. All four of them kind of had their peaks and valleys, and also to be fair, at some point, John Hunter Nemechek's going to come back up to the Cup Series level and be really driving some really quality equipment, and then we're really going to see some real true talent from him. I think nothing personal with his decision to drive the Cup Series last year in some subpar equipment, but I think his decision to go back to the Truck Series was worthy enough to go, hey, I want to win races and compete for championships. So, and he did that. He did it at every single level. So for him I'm going to pick John Hunter Nemechek. And that's who my pick is. Nothing against Junior Motorsports. I think a lot of fans love Junior Motorsports, but Justin Allgaier just, I don't think so. Might not have it just quite yet. And I think Sam Mayer, he might pull off a fast one, but I'm going to go with old trusted. I like John Hunter Nemechek here.
Yeah, I agree with you here. Kind of looking at all four guys. Sam Mayer, this is his first Final Four appearance. So with that comes the limelight of being a part of a championship. And is he too big for the moment? Only obviously we'll tell after 200 laps on Saturday. But you have to think first time racing for a championship, first race jitters. I mean, obviously for him, 4 wins this year, kind of similar to Carson Hocevar, went winless in his rookie season, then, really got his first win at Road America, his home track, and then racked up 4 more wins, including, winning 2 weeks ago in Homestead. So, he's, Sam Mayer's really, really done well. Justin Allgaier, as mentioned, wily veteran of the Xfinity Series, has been, has made the Final Four numerous times, and, just seems like they've had fast race cars in Phoenix. He's won multiple times in Phoenix, but they just can't seem to, the last 15, 20 laps, they seem to just lose that little bit of pace they need to win. Cole Custer, obviously we talked about him returning to the Xfinity Series full time. He's made the Final Four numerous times as well. I think he's probably, if you say if you were to rank these guys, you'd probably put Custer second. I'd say picking Nemechek, but I would say Custer would probably be my number 2. Obviously the only Ford represented in the Final Four. And then, I'm going to pick, it's hard to bet against 7 victories this year for John Hunter Nemechek and Joe Gibbs Racing. Brought a ton of speed this year out of that car. He's, of course, has already been announced, he's going full-time back to the Cup Series next year in that number 42 car, which will switch to Toyota with Legacy Motor Club. So, hard to bet against them. If you really look at it, 3 of the 4 drivers in the Final Four in the Xfinity Series all have pretty decent Cup experience. So the only guy you look at who's really a true first timer is Sam Mayer. But I'm gonna agree with you, Tim, and I'm gonna pick John Hunter Nemechek to win the 2020 Xfinity Series championship.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you letting us all know about the John Hunter Nemechek. Maybe I missed out on that news dropping of the day. I didn't know he was going to the 42. I didn't know that was officially I know I heard rumors about it, but maybe I misread those stories that come out. Like they announce these, I would say, in season moves like that. I don't trust anything I read till a press release gets dropped. So, but that's cool for him. I think I'm not saying I forgot about the legacy moving over to Toyota, but I guess you could say I had a fog moment and I forgot about that key situation. But
hey man, that's why we do this podcast.
Yeah, that's why you always remind me of the things that I forget, my friend. And that goes with everything in life, my friend. There's certain things like, I don't know, finances that are very important. But for the last one, I think the last topic, I think after last weekend, as a fan of racing, there is nothing better than these guys that are coming around the corner here. This is the future of what we have to watch for the next, I would say, how so many years you want to watch NASCAR. These guys are the future. These guys are the future now, and these guys have come to forefront of just awesome racing, awesome racecraft. It's exciting racing. So the four guys we got: Ryan Blaney, young Ryan Blaney, as he's nicknamed, Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, William Byron. Which somebody brought up a very valid point here. 3 out of these 4 drivers are former dirt track racers or still dirt track racers. And I think that has a lot to do with what's going to happen. How much can you keep that car sideways? I'm just joking. Phoenix isn't like that, but it's really racecraft. I don't know what else I can say, Chris, other than saying that Ryan Blaney has put on a clinic of what consistency looks like in the last 10 races. I think eight top 10s in the last 10 races. I think 6 or 7 top 5s here. And he's won more this year than he's probably won in the last, 5 seasons? I think. And it's not just the moments. Yeah, go ahead.
He's tied his career best of 3 wins. He did the same in 2000 and in 21. So,
but I think, Chris, what's something I noticed as a race fan, is that he's improving on tracks that he's not been so good at over the years, right? So, and you're seeing that improvement across the board in that program as well. Obviously, you can attest that, you can allude that to maybe possibly a crew chief change, going to a different guy than the usual pedigree that's come out of Penske over the years. Maybe a new face, new kind of look on things, or new set of eyes on things. Also, it could be the driver improving himself in maybe the simulators in the off season, but improving his racecraft. But maybe them finding something with this package. Who knows? But one thing is for certain: we saw a clinic this past weekend. He was in the top 5 for most of the day. Obviously, Martinsville, Chris, I think you can allude to this as well. It can be a crapshoot at times. It really can be. We've seen it. Restarts are kind of just roll the dice and hope it all works out in turn 1. But out of all the drivers, consistently wise, okay, 2 out of those 4 drivers race for the same team. Okay, Hendrick Motorsports, who, if anyone wants to keep track at home, has a history of winning championships. Okay. Let's not forgive that. Let's not forget that for history's sake, that they have arguably 2 of the drivers in the entire sport that have come out of that stable who have made history. Jeff Gordon, who is now the vice chairman of Hendrick Motorsports, who I would say maybe possibly had some involvement with the leader in this situation here, who might be the betting odds would say would be the foregone favorite here, Mr. Kyle Larson, to his resurgence back in the sport. You also have William Byron, who young man that came out of the Charlotte area and became on that driving that Legacy 24 car. Not the Legacy team, but the 24's history. Chris, I don't know about you, man, but Christopher Bell, I have to give him where credit's due. Out of all the JGR cars, I just have to give him credit. He performed at a level. He kind of kept his mouth shut and did his thing and raced hard and got himself to this point. he wasn't making headlines throughout the season like Hamlin and Truex Jr. with the amount of, I would say, results, but he was definitely he was doing consistently what needed to be done to make the point standings. But I hate to say this to every fan here, but it's either, to me, there's only two guys here that are going to be, in my view, that are going to be the worth watching all weekend. And that's going to be Ryan Blaney or Kyle Larson. That's it. So I'm going to pick Blaney for the sake of Blaneyiness because he's awesome. He's an awesome race car driver, awesome human being. Nothing against Kyle Larson as a human being either, but he's a generational talent and he's already got one. So I want to go with the guy doesn't have one yet. So Chris, I'm gonna let you make your run here on this pick, but it's only those two guys in my view, man.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief here. I know we're getting towards the end of the show, but yeah, I mean, looking at the Final Four, obviously, Ryan Blaney, first championship 4 appearance in his career, and taking a big step. He had been to numerous round of 8s, but finally breaks through the glass and joins the Final Four for the first time, coming off a big win last week in Martinsville. So bringing a ton of momentum, and Phoenix is one of his best tracks, and he's finished second in the last 2 races. Finished second to Joey Logano in this race last year, then finished second to William Byron in March. Then speaking of William Byron, obviously breakout season for him, 6 wins on the year, including winning at Phoenix here in the spring. So, 24 team has been on it. Last week was kind of a nerve-wracking. That was probably the biggest cracks in the armor I had seen was definitely last week out of the 24 team. You could definitely hear some panic for sure. As mentioned, Kyle Larson, I think has an advantage. He was the first guy to lock in by virtue of his win in Las Vegas and locking into the championship 4. So, the ability for him and crew chief Cliff Daniels to really be able to hone and work on this Phoenix package for the last couple of weeks is, I think is a big advantage. And then finally, Christopher Bell, his second consecutive Champ 4 appearance, and really an attaboy to crew chief Adam Stevens. I mean, I think one of the more underrated crew chiefs. Obviously, he won 2 championships with Kyle Busch, but they've just kind of plugged away. When I look at it, it's I would say here, and I'm gonna this is gonna be a little crazy, but I'm actually gonna go Kyle Larson. I think the being understated is having that ability to work on your car for those extra couple weeks. It could be a good thing, it can be a bad thing, but as we've seen and we saw last year with Joey Logano with his win in Vegas, the ability for a team to have 2 weeks essentially to really, not dog it, but also have the ability to kind of put their focus solely on the plans that they have to go race in Phoenix. It's hard to pick against Kyle Larson just strictly on that basis. He's also the only driver with a championship. So I think that knowing you've been obviously on that step of the podium one time, I feel like it makes it easier than the next time. But I got to go Kyle Larson here, just strictly on the basis of having the extra time to work on stuff. But again, would not be surprised if I'll definitely say Ryan Blaney brings a ton of momentum. He's been fast at Phoenix. The Penske Fords have found speed. So going to go Larson 1A, and I'm going to go Blaney 1B. But I feel like, again, that 2 weeks of preparation is key if you use it properly.
And I think I agree with you there. I think the prep will help him. I think just consistently, are we going to see it? I think a lot of drama is going to be written into the media. I think, Chris, you can agree with me on that. Is they're going to do a lot of hype train, as I call it, throughout the weekend to get to this point. But at some point, the guys are going to hook back into the cars, strap in, do their thing, and they're going to race. and there's nothing the media can do about it. There's nothing, no commercials, no interviews are going to get to this point. In your case with Larson, he's been to this mecca before. He's been to the mountaintop. He knows what the pressure is going to look like. The other 3 drivers have yet to be there. So as a standpoint of a human being and as the human element, the nerves alone could get to somebody. And I think that's going to affect some of these drivers. And I'm not sure to what level, but I think Larson here has the advantage in that situation as well. That's why he's my backup pick. Honestly, I as much as I'm going based on momentum and statistics on my pick with Blaney and a lot of other things as well. But I think Blaney has shown the most improvement across the board down the stretch. And I think he kind of knew when the, as you would say, the time to go or the time to perform. He knew when it was time to perform, and he did his thing. Be a very fun weekend to watch a lot of this racing for everyone to watch, keeping a track at home. So you hear our picks first. I'm picking Blaney. Chris is picking Larson. But listen, we're not going to be saddened at all whoever wins this championship. We're going to be more excited the fact that the season's over, because it'll come back around in less 12 weeks later at Daytona. And for all the creams at home, they finally get to enjoy a vacation and some downtime and spend some time with their families that they haven't yet done so this year. So I think as a NASCAR fan, you have to say I appreciate it. Also, I also appreciate, hopefully they come back with a better TV package for next year. But we'll do another podcast episode on that one as well. But everybody, I appreciate the opportunity, as always, for your listenership. Chris, I appreciate you joining me once again. Hope everyone has a great November. We're going to have some fun here.
Thank you for listening to the Yankee Cowboy Podcast. Feel free to follow us on social media via Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook.